Um,
This One's Wife. A black view of This One's Wife. Hello, my name's H.G. Tudor. This One's Wife has made repeated use of the race card. She's made repeated use of being a person of colour for the purposes of eliciting pithy plays, trying to make people feel sorry for her on the basis of claiming that she has suffered racist abuse. She has claimed that members of the royal family, namely King Charles and the Princess of Wales, made, in essence, racist comments in relation to Archie's skin colour. She has sought to align herself with people of colour, although hitherto had always held herself out as being white. As a narcissist, of course, she is a shapeshifter. Driven by her narcissism, she will look to mirror other individuals for the purposes of controlling them and drawing fuel from them, utilizing their character traits, appropriating them, and looking to access those residual benefits. All of this, of course, is done in a subconscious fashion. The issue of race in relation to This One's Wife is one which regularly appears. Certain of her supporters regularly trot out the mantra of "you're being racist" when they misunderstand that criticising somebody for their behaviour isn't racism. Nevertheless, like a knee-jerk response, any time their queen is criticised, they allege that it's racism. On numerous occasions, I have had Sugars visit my channel and accuse me of racism. I've explained very clearly that it's based on her behaviour. You won't find any evidence of racism, and besides, as I make it repeatedly clear, I don't have any prejudices. I hate everybody equally. But I thought it would be useful to obtain the views of somebody who is a person of colour to see what they have to state about This One's Wife. How do they view her behaviour in relation to the children? How do they regard her behaviour with regard to the issue of race? Does this person, as a black woman, recognise that This One's Wife is representative of her? Why does she believe that many black people defend her or support her? What is it that causes them to do so? I naturally have my views and observations which are linked to the behaviour of This One's Wife by virtue of her narcissism, and why her narcissism utilises the race card as a means to control people, to draw fuel from them, to manage a particular facade. But it was in the course of a lengthy discussion that I had with a lady called Maggie that the issue of This One's Wife and race came up. And therefore I'm affording you an opportunity to listen to what she has to say. A black woman, an articulate, intelligent lady who is interested in the saga of This One's Wife and provides us with a perspective from a black person. She's French-Canadian and provides us with her own observations about the behaviour of This One's Wife linked to the issue of race and colour, which of course I see as particularly timely as This One's Wife is on the cusp of going to Nigeria to purportedly explore her 43%. I'll let you be the judge of what Maggie has to say in relation to This One's Wife. I'll let you hear what she has to say about the way that she perceives This One's Wife's use of race and colour, in allowing you to hear what she has to say, taken from a much longer discussion between the two of us as part of an interview of your glorious narrator. But here comes the relevant excerpt for you to consider. Let me know your observations in relation to what you've heard in the comments section. Here it is.
That was about how blonde with blue eyes Lilibet was, and she seemed really proud of it. So there's a part of me that I'm like, is that why she doesn't really want to present Archie? Is it because he has curly hair? Because she wants the child to look as white as possible?
Well, it's interesting again, and I'd
Mhm.
welcome your perspective, obviously, as
Mhm.
somebody who would be described as a person of color.
Yes.
That here she is coming along saying, "I'm a person of color," and
Mhm.
yet, what is she putting forward as the sort of ideal aesthetic? A white child with the blue eyes and the blonde hair, the Aryan
Exactly.
ideal. So immediately,
Exactly.
her supposed affinity to black people, black and brown people, that's gone in an instant. What is interesting is that when you look at the children, of course, with the hair coloring and so forth, they talked about the Spencer blue eyes and so forth.
Mm.
It's like it was as if she basically said, I want white children with blue eyes and blonde stroke or strawberry blonde hair.
Yeah.
And so, well, what about your ethnicity?
Mhm.
Because she clearly doesn't really regard that spoke volumes in terms of how she sees herself. She doesn't see herself as um, mixed race. She sees herself as white. What do you think?
I know that she sees herself as white. That's why she keeps on you because my mom and Doria are lower mid range. And
Hmm.
I just imagine because I'm lighter than my mom, I just imagine
Okay.
myself going and saying, "Oh, my mom was seen as my maid." And I know my mom would kill me
Yeah.
because it's such a mammy stereotype. It's such a lie because she had an afro. Your mom didn't spend 16 years being seen as your maid. But
Yeah.
that example is just to make it seem like your black parent is lesser.
Yes.
And then for me, I'm just fascinated at why people don't see how racist she
Well, I think
because
many of them do. When you first saw her, you,
Mhm.
you're a black person. So when you first saw her, did you
I knew
think
she was
she's
mixed.
black?
I knew she was mixed. I watched Meghan
Right.
on Suits before I knew about Prince. She's the reason why I know the royal family. I didn't know about the royal family before her.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Canada. I
Yeah.
But Suits was filmed in Canada, and I learned about Suits, and I saw her, and I was like, oh, that's a mixed girl. I'm gonna support, and I watched the show.
Mm. Yeah.
She looks mixed. When you're black, you're so used to watching the all the micro like trait because everything is so whitewashed and the 1%, like if you're 1% black, then automatically you're black. So it's so obvious that she's mixed. She doesn't look entirely white. And that's the point of the one drop rule is that it's not about looking black, it's about not looking white.
I
So
see.
that's why I'm like, you don't look white, therefore I know you're mixed with something.
Yeah, I see. When I first saw her, I actually thought she was Hispanic, that there was some Hispanic about her. I didn't automatically, I certainly didn't think she's black because to look at her,
Hmm.
she's not black looking.
Exactly,
Um, you
exactly.
can, when you've been told about her having a black mother, you can see aspects of that with regard to, say, like when she was younger, the
Hmm.
shape of her nose and her hair and aspects of her skin color as
Hmm.
well. But it
And
doesn't
she
stand
looks
out.
like her. She looks like her mom. Thank God for that because her dad is not really pretty. Like for her, she looks
Sure,
like her mom. Mm?
I see. Yeah, but it's just interesting to have a black person's perspective on her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, she is a self-hating black woman. There has been thousands of them in the history of America. The number of white passing black women that try to hide their experience as a black person. She's not a mystery. She's clearly people. She was in a white school with an
Yeah,
afro. How would no tell her you have an afro? Kids
yeah,
are asshole.
yeah.
So no, she knew she was black. She has been bullied for her hair, and I can feel the hate of her own hair by the fact that Archie has more curly hair, and she's like, anytime someone says that, but that she's so happy that the black gene pool is going out when you look at Lilibet.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah. So would you regard her as racist?
yeah, she is.
Okay.
She is a racist because even now she still act as if she was white passing
Yeah.
when when you're a black person, I just show picture of her when she was younger at my Sussex, because I have a lot of family that has a success squad and everything.
Okay.
And yeah, yeah, yeah. And they
Mm.
just, and I just show them a picture of her, and I'm like, is that a white passing child? And they're just like, oh my God, because we are all mixed. We were all raped by white people back in the day. So we all have like different ethnicity inside of us. But
Hmm.
I have cousins who are with red hair and like super white, but they're still black because they have one drop of black blood.
Yes.
And her, she doesn't act this way. She's clearly ashamed that she had an afro. That's why she act as if she would be white passing with an afro. That makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at her, I see a woman that has always held herself out as being Caucasian. As
Yes,
such, she wrote on her resume that
yes,
she has clearly altered the shape of her nose from a less black shaped nose,
hmm,
if I can describe it as such, to
yeah,
one
yeah,
that's more white. That
hmm,
she has, obviously, with her hair, she never wears it as an afro. She always has it straightened, and that she has only ever dated white men.
exactly. And she is ready to as if America, who is 1,000 times more racist than Europe, like there are so many black artists that ran away from the United States to go to Europe, like Josephine Baker, James Baldwin, and they all said that Europe was less racist. But that
Mm,
lady who acts as if, oh, being black in America, it's so easy to white pass, which is a lie.
mm.
Like I don't understand why black people like support her because she's clearly against us.
Well,
But
I was going to
that's
ask you
why.
about that because,
Hmm.
as we know, that there is the Sussex squad, which has a lot of its members who are
My family.
yeah, from black people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
given the fact that you can see it, in effect, that you might say she's in a sense a traitor to mixed race, and you've described her as being racist.
Mhm.
Naturally, I have my views about this, but what do you think it is that causes these people, certain black people to, and we know there are black people who don't like her as well. I've seen that on many occasions. But what do you think it is that causes certain black people to support her, notwithstanding the evidence that shows that she actually doesn't really like black people?
I think there are two like categories of people. Like let's
Yeah.
say my mom, she hates white people. So
Hmm.
she's because she's not saying like, oh, black people. She's like, they are racist against me. And so all they hear is that, oh, the white institution is the problem. And so since they hate whiteness, they're gonna support her because they're gonna be like, they're just gonna transfer their own feeling of victim, like how victimized they were, and they're gonna put it on her. So
I
there is
see.
the fact that she's fighting against something that's so clearly white that
Yeah.
for them they're feeling like, oh yeah, we have to support her. And there are
And do they
other who
not,
have.
but do they not
Mhm.
understand that it's entirely self-serving, that she harnesses white institutions when it suits her and then
Mhm.
complains about them when it suits her? But where do you see any actual activism by her in relation to supporting black people? You don't.
They don't care. They just want to hate the white
Mm.
institution and say, see, the system is rigged.
Yeah.
It's just about complaining and saying that yes, white people are evil. And there are
Mm.
others who have a strange, I don't know if you know the show Bridgerton.
I know of it. I've not watched it.
Hmm. So there's like it's like basically the history of England, but like we make like every ethnicity in it.
Yes.
And exactly. And so people are like, oh my God, they want that fantasy. They always wanted to be the princess. They always wanted to be like,
Mm.
they feel like, oh, if she can be the princess, then I can be the princess. Oh, they're refusing a black princess, so they would have refused me. So they just,
Yeah.
I feel like they're all self-serving. Like the people
Yeah.
who are just taking Meghan and being like, oh, she's fighting against the whites when clearly it's obvious that she's not. It's
Yeah.
just because
Yeah.
they hate
Your
her.
views. Yes, your views accord similarly to mine. That I see that her
Hmm.
supporters fall into the group of she serves a purpose for their own agenda, so
Mm-hmm.
therefore they support her. And
Yeah.
then there are others who basically, and that I have there's a long-standing blog reader of mine, a lovely
Mm-hmm.
lady. She went by the initial T on my blog, and she's not around as much these days. She pops in every so often to say hello to me. She's a lovely lady, and she contacted me a few years ago when I was first doing the stuff about This One's Wife, and she said, HG, I was so excited at first because I thought one of us had got there. One of us had got there in the royal family, and that was lovely. And then she said, I was so disappointed with her behavior. And obviously, when when you analysed her and said she was a narcissist, I was like, oh, goodness me, that's so disappointing. And she is a very reasonable individual and can see it. But she also had that similar attitude of, Team Black has got in there, if I can describe it that way.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
many of her supporters are, just as you pointed out, they've always wanted to be the princess. They've always wanted to be the Duchess, and so they get a vicarious thrill by thinking
Yeah.
she's been doing it, and so they don't see her shortcomings. They don't see the
They
evidence of her poor
refuse.
behavior. Yeah, they
They
just think
refuse.
I don't want to see it because I don't want to spoil the dream.
Exactly. Like they will just look at her and they don't care, because for me, Meghan Markle is one of the worst things to happen to Black people in a while. Because for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, she's making a mockery of racism. If let's say a white person doesn't believe in racism, because we're all bigots. I didn't believe Johnny Depp. I thought Johnny Depp, a white man, obviously is guilty. Like we have our all have our prejudice. So let's
Hmm.
say a white person looks, okay, let me learn about racism, and then they listen to Meghan, and Meghan is like, they said that I was from Compton. Like, why would the white person think that racism is still a thing if that is racism?
Mm.
So for me, I'm just like, she's such a danger to Black people because she's making a joke of our suffering and acting as if she's a representative of Black people when she, even in her documentary, Netflix documentary, she said that brown and beige don't go well with the skin tone of Black people.
Right. Which demonstrates, given that she's someone who wears beige so much, she clearly doesn't think of herself as black then.
And what, I've never heard that stereotype. Beige doesn't go on Black people, brown doesn't go, like it makes no
No,
sense.
well, we
She's
all know when it comes to fashion with her, she hasn't a flaming clue, has she? So,
No, it's just to show how racist she is, to be like, I'm not
mm,
one of you.
yeah,
That's how I
yeah,
feel. I'm like, why would you say that? Like, why would I just sit down on my documentary and say, you know what, blue doesn't go with white people? It's such a random thing to say. So
yeah,
for me, I'm just like, you're trying to tell us something because I've never seen you in other color. Like, she hates looking Black in any way possible.
yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
yes. So to come back,
There you have the views of Maggie as a black woman in relation to This One's Wife, and I'm sure you found them interesting. As I explained, this formed part of a much longer discussion that Maggie and I had, which will be available separately. We covered various aspects of narcissism and other issues in relation to This One's Wife also. But let me know your thoughts in relation to what Maggie had to say. Do you agree with what her observations were as a black woman about This One's Wife, or do you disagree? And why? I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.